Hello. We're there, right? We're there. We're at the end of the day. Guys, congratulations. Look, what I want more than anything, I want you to commit to the notion, I want you to commit to the idea that at any point in our lives, and hopefully for many of you at many points in your lives, you're going to feel such passion for something that it's going to identify your purpose. And that purpose will lead you to other people, and with whom those people and you, nothing is impossible, right? Everything seems possible. That's what I wish for you, and that's what the idea that I want you to hold. Because it's like by filling out the applications and coming to places like this, that you're already on the path to finding like-minded communities. And it's those like-minded communities and inner circles that are going to give you the strength and the power to achieve great things. For me, I was working as a lawyer, I had a degree in science, but I didn't truly find my purpose until I started really committing to this idea of storytelling, to my ability as a writer, that I wanted to really get people to tell stories. And so what I did was I started pursuing opportunities. And what I did, like also if we could cue the next slide, I don't have the remote, guys. I started reaching out to all these different magazines in my area, and I started saying, oh, I want to interview this person, I want to interview that person. And it really just gave me the power to build my inner circle, to build my community. I had heroes, I had people that I admired and respected in the storytelling space that I really wanted to connect with. And so I offered my services to any magazine that would listen and told them how I wanted to interview this person or that person, and one thing led to another. And starting small, just with one thing that I could then share to show that I could do it, enabled me to do it time and time again, and to start building my inner circle of people. And my inner circle started growing and became more colorful. And it enabled me to meet people like Elon Musk and to interview Elmo, the sweet little Muppet. Oh my God. So, it was just incredible for me that I was able to connect with these people and build that inner circle that became more and more colorful. And what I then realized is that by sharing my stories with them and they with me, is that I started leveraging that inner circle, that I started leveraging that community to do the things I really wanted to do. And so, again, what we wanted to do was connect people. There was always this heart to it. There was always a heart at the center. We just wanted to connect people. And so the first thing we did was actually the first time it was ever done. We created a user-generated film using social media. We connected 140 filmmakers in 140 locations, 23 countries, 5 continents, and they each submitted 140 seconds of footage. And it came together into this film where people were sharing moments with their families, their friends, funny moments. And it really connected us at a time when people were saying that social media is actually tearing us apart, that because we're communicating in such short sentences and in abbreviations and LOLs and emojis, that we're not truly communicating anymore. So we said, well, what if we take those same constraints, take those same constructs, 140 seconds, and see whether that can lead us to stories and sharing and feeling. And then we created a tribute to Nelson Mandela, someone, again, who created a feeling within us, this empathy within us that made us want to tell his story and connect people around him. And so we started bringing celebrities together and we asked them to raise their hand and pledge to make the world a better place on Nelson Mandela's birthday. And they did, and that symbol, that hand that people use to identify struggles, work, but also with Nelson Mandela was that ultimate symbol of freedom, was a really core value for us that really brought people around this empathetic value. And what we wanted to do more and more was just start telling stories about people that made us feel connected. And once we did that, once we identified that by finding characters and finding people who made us feel something, those stories and those films made other people feel things too. And it was that empathy that made people be able to connect with the films, and it made us more successful, which is a weird way, by kind of falling in love with our projects. And by feeling for the people we were talking about and telling stories about, it helped us become more and more successful. Mimi, who you can see in this picture, she's currently 91 years old. She became homeless in her 50s. And for 20-something years, up until her 89th birthday, she was living in a laundromat, sleeping in a garden chair between 2 rows of washer dryers. And she would do people's laundries with such a positive attitude that it had an effect on people and people were drawn to her. And so normally, we all do it at some point. We come across a homeless person, we walk past a homeless person, and we avert our eyes or try not to engage. But because she was so positive and because she was in this community and found her community, she started to engage with the most unlikely of characters. Also because she was in LA, right, where kind of weird things can happen. And I feel like the same thing is true of Austin now, right? Because she was in LA, she had started doing laundry for people because she was sleeping in the laundromat. And she started connecting with people like Zach Galifianakis from the Hangover series. And he started feeling the empathy towards her that we tried to convey in our story. And because of the empathy he felt for her and the success that he started to have, he first got her a cell phone so they could stay in touch when she didn't have a way to communicate. Then eventually he got her her own apartment across the road from the laundromat so she could still go there every day and be a part of her community. And what magical things that happened, it just kept extending and extending, and it led me to another person who needed a documentary storyteller, who needed someone with the skills, thankfully, that I had been adopting and working towards and striving for. And we started a company whose tenet was technology for the sake of humanity. When we normally get a hold of technology, I know the first thing we all do is we put our name into the computer, we put our name into Google, and we press return, right? And for me, that made this happen. By putting my last name into Google and pressing return, I knew I belonged on the internet. There is nothing that belongs more on the internet than me. But what also happened was we started getting letters and different things, and we got a letter in which led to this amazing project. We got an article from Time magazine that spoke about this doctor, Dr. Tom Catena, a New Yorker who'd gone out to Sudan to help people in this remote place in the Nuba Mountains. And he was the sole doctor, the only doctor for about 650,000 people. So he did everything for them, whether it was just stitches and minor cuts and bruises to performing some pretty amazing complex surgeries. And the article also spoke about Daniel. And Daniel was a 14-year-old boy who was out tending to his cattle when he heard a bomber, an airplane coming. And this is part and parcel of living in the Nuba Mountains, so he knew he had to do something. And he ran and he managed to get himself behind a tree and he grabbed hold of that tree. And the tree protected his body, but it didn't protect his arms. And so at age 14, he lost both his arms and said in this article that he now knew that he was going to be such a burden to his family that he wished he wouldn't have survived that day. And we just couldn't fathom the idea that a 14-year-old had this sense of self-worth or worthlessness because of this physical difference, that things were going to be so bad for him and his family from this point forward. And we wanted to do something. So we did kind of what we're talking about here. We leveraged our inner circle. We leveraged the people that we'd been in contact with. We leveraged our community and we brought them together in this room in Venice Beach in California. And we had people who are engineers and people who are physical therapists and people who are filmmakers. My friend Adrian's an Oscar-nominated filmmaker. We had a dog, because it's always good to have a dog or a cat around. And we started to work on a solution. And we brought out this one guy, his name's Richard Van Aars. And we brought him out from South Africa. And he's the guy who invented the first 3D printed prosthetic hand. He did it after cutting off his own fingers in a carpentry accident. And we brought him out and talked to him, and we sent a team out to Africa following that. And they went to Yida, a UN refugee camp that has about, again, 700,000 people living in it. It's more like a small city. I think Austin has about 850. So you can imagine that it's a comparable size. And that's where Daniel was. And this is what happened.
was 14 when the bomb took his arms. I read the article about him and had to help. I came to Sudan with 3D printers, laptops, spools of plastic, and the goal to build Daniel an arm. And then Daniel fed himself for the first time in 2 years. But it's never about just one person.
Thank you. Thank you. So the cool thing is that there are so many people doing so many cool things around the world, but we need this content where we can share these ideas in order for these ideas to transcend borders, to cross boundaries. And this piece of content ended up with more than 1 billion media impressions or 1 billion eyeballs. And it won all these awards, and the benefit of that was not so much the awards themselves, but it meant that just by helping Daniel, one person, we were able to identify that so many more people could be helped with this technology. And the files could be downloaded from the internet, and so anyone, anywhere had access to these solutions. And that's the whole thing, right? I mean, no one can do everything. Sometimes it all feels overwhelming. But if we can all identify just one thing that we can do that might help someone, but that one person is indicative of thousands of others, then by just helping one person, by just doing one thing, we can help many. And the cool thing is we started getting letters from Brazil of someone who'd printed out an arm for a boy in Brazil. We started getting letters about and emails about a girl in Vietnam who was a 6-year-old quadruple amputee. All her limbs had some piece missing. And she's in the top right of that screen, but they sent us photos of her watching Project Daniel, and you could just tell that she now knew that she didn't have to be limited by her present physical condition, that people were working on solutions to help her, and that her future was brighter than her body. So just an incredible time. We started getting aware and being made aware of 12-year-olds who were making Braille printers using their Lego kits, and people building Segways that were better than the industrial Segway that was being released because they enabled more people with more limitations to use them. And we realized pretty quickly that we're in this world now where being innovative, we don't have to belong to a massive company or a massive academic institution in order to do innovation. We don't have to worry about whether we're going to get a job at Apple or Microsoft or Boeing or GE or at some large university in order to be innovative, because everything is accessible to us now. We don't need anyone's permission. Our will to innovate is the only thing limiting us. Because if we want a 3D printer, if we want something else, we can go on Amazon and we can order it and it can be at our place within a couple of days. If we don't know how to turn it on, we can go on YouTube and watch a video for how to turn it on. And if we've got any questions about it, we can just go to Facebook or some forum and ask a question and someone will help us. We can find our like-minded community online. We're so connected. And we've seen it in all different places. We've seen people in Haiti get 3D printers that enabled them to create that little piece of red plastic that was an umbilical cord clamp that stopped blood spraying after childbirth, which meant that disease was less likely to spread. We saw people building baby incubators in Africa using the old parts from Toyota 4Runners. So now when that incubator breaks, its filtration system, its airflow breaks, you don't need to find some baby incubator specialist in the middle of Africa. You just need a mechanic. And so the ideas that I want to share with you are that we all have amazing ideas. And we're all we get so worked up about helping people and doing good work. But we also have to remember that if we tell the stories around them, if we share that empathy, if we share those ideas, they're much more likely to be adapted and adopted by people all over the world. So that's what's going to change our society. Have those ideas. Be in these communities that enable you to have the ideas. But use the personal stories and your personal journeys to connect with other people. And by sharing that, you can really, truly cross borders and change the world. So if you can commit with me, commit to finding your passion, commit to that passion leading you to purpose, to finding your people, that like-minded community. And once you find them, commit to doing one thing that makes the sphere we live on just a little bit more improved than the way you found it. Thank you.